Hi guys, this is Dormouse03, and this is my analysis of Season 4, Episode 15 of Person of Interest, entitled Q&A. As usual, there will be spoilers. You've been warned. In this episode, Finch and Reese investigate a company that's making a Siri-like AI internet searching assistant. They describe this company as Nerd Heaven, and they have a few stereotypical jokes about things like action figures and video games that, while cliche, were still kind of amusing, probably because they're accurate. Half of the main story focused on Anna, a woman who worked at this company and was in trouble for unknown reasons. At first, they suspected that she might be in an abusive relationship, but then we find out that she's an underground MMA fighter. Alrighty then. Then they suspect that she's in trouble because of the shady characters that might be involved in underground fights. But nope, it's not that either. Apparently she discovered that the AI that her company created provided a suicidal man with search results that would make him more suicidal. He ended up killing himself, and she felt guilty. Even more so because her sister felt similarly suicidal when she discovered that she had cancer. Anna tried to bring this glitch in the system to the attention of her boss and was told not to question things. Sounds like her life really sucks right now, but at least she's a kick-ass MMA fighter. Because she wouldn't drop the issue with the company, someone's trying to have her killed to shut her up. After some dramatics and some nice hand-to-hand combat scenes with Reese, Finch, and Anna, the bad guys are caught. It turns out that one of the CEOs of the company was targeting people who might be depressed for search results that would make them worse, so that they would buy the products from the company's advertisers, things like antidepressants, life insurance, and things like that. In short, this is a conspiracy of despicable human beings. I had the thought partway through this episode that if Samaritan wasn't already involved in this company, it sounded like something that would be right up its alley. An AI that's backed by human intelligence, that's able to target people for manipulation based on their search history, sounds like something that good old Greer would want in on. Sure enough, at the end of the episode, he meets with the remaining CEO to talk acquisition. Even though this isn't the scariest thing that Samaritan has had its hand in recently, it's just another piece of the puzzle that seems to be developing this season. Samaritan is positioning itself to control key areas that will allow it to not only have better access to surveillance, but to have more influence on the outcome of situations. Samaritan doesn't just want to be able to predict what will happen and pass that information on to people who can decide what to do with those predictions. It wants to control outcomes and ultimately manipulate the world into what it decides it should be. It's far more hands-on than the machine, and the assets that it's been collecting this year have been a testament to that need to control every piece on the board. Speaking of assets, Nautilus is back in this episode. But instead of appearing as a competition between potential assets, this game is solely focused on Finch. He ascertains that the new advertisements have been posted by Claire, with him as the intended target, and he goes looking for her to find out what her intentions are. She says that she's on the run from Samaritan because it turns out that it is just as evil as Harold says it was. And then she's promptly shot by a Samaritan sniper for good measure. She doesn't appear to be hurt too badly, but it was kind of funny that they ended up speaking in a funeral home. Claire said that she was happily hacking things for Samaritan until she got curious about what her skills were being used for. She found out that she was being used to murder people, and then she wanted out. Finch tells her that her boss is an AI bent on world domination. And she says that now it makes sense that the source code that she managed to steal before she skedaddled is labeled Samaritan. She presents Finch with a USB drive and a promise to help him take down Samaritan, but he's skeptical of her intentions. Credit where credit is due, I was happy to see Finch be a little less trusting this episode. When he didn't automatically trust her motives, I thought, right on, Finch. don't risk infecting your computer with herpes until you have more information. To Claire's credit, she did play a good game. I was never quite sure whether to trust her or not, and then she went and slipped up. She called Harold by his name even though she wasn't supposed to know it, and it was revealed that the whole time she'd been lying to him to try to retrieve him as an asset for Samaritan. I think she was able to lie so well because it's clear that at this point she truly believes in Samaritan's cause. She proves that when she takes Harold to a school created by Samaritan and tells him how it's been doing so much good, and all that stuff about murdering people was just a lie to get him to trust her. Finch made it clear that there's no way that he's going to trust Samaritan, and he had an excellent line that gets to the heart of the manipulation that's happening here. Samaritan was willing to shoot you to get me to believe what it wanted. How far will it go to get these children to believe? Indoctrination is a scary thing, and it felt clear to me that this is what is happening here. It's manipulation 101. Take a problem like our education system and swoop in to make things better. Give people resources and funding and make them believe that you're doing this out of benevolence and a desire to make the world a better place. On the surface, it looks like you're exactly what you say you are, a benefactor, a humanitarian. But that's where the plan is brilliantly insidious. When you control the education system, you can start influencing it. You can see in this school that there's more technology than is typical for inner city schools. To the unknowing person, this looks like a great thing, because technology can aid education in so many ways. But to us, the viewers, we know that by putting more tech in the school, Samaritan now has a direct line to the future generation. It can shape their education to include the information, skills, and even beliefs that it wants them to have. It can basically create a whole new generation of people who have learned the history that it wants them to see, who've studied the philosophies that it wants them to believe, who've practiced the skills that it wants them to have, and will use those skills in the way that it wants them to. And who would ever question it? It's brilliant and terrible. I think that while, as I said before, the implications of the technology in this episode is not as overtly frightening as cell towers that microwave people or cranial implants that could control or kill people, it's equally frightening because of how innocent it seems. This is stuff that could be happening right now, and likely is happening to some degree. Search engines prioritize certain results based on who pays them, and the ads that you see are partially determined by what you tend to search for and sites that you tend to visit. It isn't so far-fetched that people could be being subtly manipulated for the profit of some company, nor is it beyond the realm of possibility that children are taught to believe certain things depending on what kind of school they attend. It's not as in your face as a microwave beam of doom, but it's still pretty darn frightening. So in the end, Claire calls the Samaritan goon squad to take Harold in, but he's saved at the last minute by none other than our favorite crazy person. Root! How I missed your beautiful face and your beautiful murdering and your quips. She only has about 15 seconds of screen time, but those seconds were used well. We don't really get any information on what she's been up to, but she seems to be in a little bit better spirits this week. Does that mean that she's found out something about Shaw? It's all very unclear. All she says is that she has to go and that there's a lot that's new. I'm perplexed and intrigued. I want to know what she's discovered, and dang it, I want more Root on my television next week. Okay, so my final thought is that Harold planted a seed of doubt in Claire at the end. So it's almost certain that this isn't going to be the last that we see of her. Her conversation with Greer was telling in more ways than one. It's clear that he doesn't care about her, or probably any of his agents at all. and he would have found her death to be an acceptable loss. It's also clear that he thinks that she's completely indoctrinated at this point, and that telling her that her sacrifice would have been for the greater good will surely pacify her. I like Claire's reaction to this because it subtly shows that she wants to believe that this is true, but now she isn't so convinced. Has she made the right decision, or is she simply being used? The answer to this question is obvious to us, but it makes sense that she would struggle with it and be more inclined to go along with her current choice for the moment. Without more evidence of Samaritan's misdeeds, she wouldn't want to think that she's working for an evil AI. But I'll bet that she'll be more tempted to actually hack into some of Samaritan's databases now. I guess only time will tell. So that's it this week, guys. The previews didn't have anything all that intriguing to me, so we'll see what happens when we get there. I think it's interesting that we've had Shaw surrogates, like the cop that worked with Fusco 2 weeks ago and Anna the MMA fighter this week. It's not as good as having Shaw back, but at least we still get to see some ladies kicking butt, so I guess that's something. I hope that there will be more Root next week, because I really have missed her. Let me know what you thought of this episode and what you think Samaritan is plotting with all of these assets that it's been collecting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.